Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our last virtual program for Big Game Week here at the Newhouse School. For those of you have been in our info sessions, or if you haven't, my name is Wes Whiteside. I'm the Associate Director for Recruitment and Diversity at the Newhouse School, and I want to welcome you all here. We have prospective students, we have alumni, we have current students, we have family and friends here this evening. And I just want to say to you all, thank you for joining us. So we've got an amazing program for you this evening. Dynamic professor, I'm going to introduce her to you all in a minute. But before we do start, I do want to make an acknowledgement, as we do at all of Syracuse University's events, that Syracuse University would like to acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, fire keepers of the Haudenosaunee, and the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University now stands. So once again, thank you all for coming. And like I said, we have a dynamic presentation for you. One of my favorite professors is going to be doing the presentation with you all this evening, Professor Olivia Stomsky. The thing about Olivia that I love and enjoy the most is she's got the dream job, my dream job. If there was something someone says, like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I'd love to watch sports. I'd love to produce sports. I love to talk about sports every day. And that's what Olivia does. So a little bit about Professor Stomsky. She is an executive producer at Pro Angle Media in Los Angeles. She oversees and manages and produces and directs over 100 live events across the country. She leads the production team and works with executives and personnel from several networks to do professional collegiate games. She's also a Newhouse alum, and she produces for Fox Sports Net, and she also has an Emmy and a Telly Award. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you all to Professor Olivia Stomsky. Hello, Olivia, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Wes. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm excited to finish off this exciting week leading into the big game.
Right.
I did that right? Big game.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yes.
Okay.
It looks like you're traveling a little bit too, huh?
I am. So I was going to lead into that a little bit. Obviously, I will be talking about production of the Super Bowl, what happens behind the scenes. As Wes said, I am a very proud alum. I'm seeing some familiar names in this participant. So I just want to first of all say thank you all, especially those recent grads. I already missed you guys so much, and I'm excited that you're here. So feel free to jump in the chat if anything pops up. Wes, should I just go ahead and get started? All right.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I wanted to give you a little bit more information about me. I always make jokes with Wes. We need to update my bio. It's actually 6 Emmys that I have, not just one, but we'll just keep going on that. And obviously my background is in production. I am a live game producer. In my career, I've produced live games, studios, shows, long form documentaries. I'm actually traveling right now, so I apologize that my lighting's not great for a producer. This isn't my favorite as far as shots go. So those of you that are in production, and I see some trained producers on this list, forgive me, I'm using hotel lights. I'm in Louisville right now, and I will be producing track and field on ESPN on Saturday. So it just keeps moving and shaking. We've got a lot of stuff happening at Newhouse. We have 5 students that have been in Los Angeles for the media week of Super Bowl. They'll be joining us in a little while, get some information from them on what they've been doing this week and the stuff that they've been covering, and take any of the questions that you guys may have as we start to move forward through our night together. So I want to give you guys some information. My favorite part is to give you a little bit, a couple of little secrets to be looking for during the Super Bowl this Sunday. And we can all at the end maybe give our picks of the Super Bowl now that gambling is such a normal thing that we're all talking about and weren't talking about only just a few months ago. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully we can get you guys going in a way that I see that everyone sees here. And Wes, I'll ask you to help me out. Can you see my presentation in full screen?
Yes, I can.
Thanks, Wes. All right, so obviously, we all know that the NFL added an extra week this week. We tend to have the Super Bowl, whether that be the last Sunday in January, the first Sunday in February. This week it's a bit later because of that new schedule that the NFL has decided to have. So we all know how we got here as far as this season. There's been a lot of great matchups, and if you ask me, the NFL could not have written a better script for the way the games have been going. Last weekend was tough not having football in my house because of the excitement of all of these games moving forward and how great they've been so far. But how did we really get here? How did we really get to Super Bowl 56? Well, obviously, we know there had to be a Super Bowl one. And to be honest, that Super Bowl one wasn't called Super Bowl one. So back then, in 1967, there was the NFL, but there was also the AFL. It was two separate leagues that were constantly competing for the best players, viewers, and it was definitely working towards who was going to win the most powerful people within the sport. So there was a discussion about what they would then do next. Well, let's do a AFL NFL World Championship. AFL World Championship game. It's really wordy, and I don't think it looked great on the graphics, but it was what it was called. It was January 15th, 1967, and the Green Bay Packers won that game. So the Green Bay Packers won 35-10. It was who is against the City Chiefs owner from 1960 to 2006, and he started calling it the Super Bowl. And one of the quotes you'll see at the bottom here, I have kiddingly called the Super Bowl, which obviously can be improved upon. Well, clearly it cannot be improved upon because we still to this day call it the Super Bowl. Well, he started calling it the Super Bowl and it just stuck. When asked later why he called it the Super Bowl, he said it probably is because of this thing. Well, at the time, one of the hottest toys, trying to get rid of the chat that has popped up. So let me do this real quick. See if that helps. And it's still popping up. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing real quick and see if I can fix this for you. Sorry, guys. That's what happens when you're traveling, you're in a hotel. Oh, here we go. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better for you guys. So when asked where he got this title of the Super Bowl, he ended up saying, well, his kids were playing with this, one of the hottest toys at the time. And this little toy was called the Super Bowl. Who knows if that's really why we call it the Super Bowl, but it was one of the reasons why he said that he came up with the idea. So we will call it Super Bowl one, even though Super Bowl one wasn't called Super Bowl one quite yet. So what then happened? Well, after after they decided to play this first game, they had a little bit of an issue about television rights. And that's what we're going to talk about today is the production and television rights of this game. At the time, the CBS held broadcast rights to the NFL games, and NBC held the rights to the AFL games. Well, when you have the NFL versus the AFL, who gets to have the broadcast rights? Well, they had to figure that out, and they had to figure it out quick. What they decided to do was they decided that since one team from each league was playing against each other, both networks agreed to pay $1 million to each simulcast Super Bowl one. Well, what does this mean? What did the simulcast mean? It meant that it was two networks with one broadcast and two separate sets of on-air talent. So CBS had their play-by-play sideline reporters, analysts, NBC had theirs, but everyone at home was seeing the same pictures along the way. It was one language and two different networks having the same feed. So the Super Bowl became bigger and bigger. And in 1985, ABC came along and said, hey, we want a piece of that, and decided that they were going to get into the rotation of broadcasting the Super Bowl. So each year it would rotate from CBS to NBC to ABC until 1997. By 1997, Fox Sports had really started taking off, and they were looking to get into this game. And they said, okay, we want to make sure that we're in that rotation. So the four networks rotated the Super Bowl until 2006, at which point ABC decided we're going to probably take ourselves out of this. It's a bit too expensive for them at the time. And it just didn't seem to go with the culture and the programming that ABC was really centered around. So after 2006 until today, the three networks have been rotating the rights to the Super Bowl each year. And what you see as far as the numbers go underneath each of the networks, you'll see that is what the ratings were for each of those Super Bowls on those networks. There has been a little bit of a dip in the ratings of the Super Bowl each year over the last 3 years. There's a lot of reasons people believe. Some of it is the influx of fantasy football. Fans are more into players than they necessarily are into their home teams. Some people are not watching the Super Bowl because they're not going to Super Bowl parties due to the pandemic. There's lots of reasons why this could happen. And one of the things to know is that actually this year should be CBS's turn to have the Super Bowl. But when looking at the ratings, when looking at what they would be coming up against with NBC, who also has a little event, big situation called the Olympics happening, CBS decided that it would be best if they gave NBC this year's Super Bowl. So they swapped their Super Bowls so that NBC would have it this year. So let's talk about what goes on to make sure that all of us at home have a great Super Bowl Sunday at Super Bowl 56. This obviously is the logo this year. It's the last year of it looking like some form of my name. So I'm going to be sad next year when it doesn't. But the beautiful palm trees, and we obviously know that it's in Los Angeles, and we'll be joined by the students that are in Los Angeles soon. So we have a lot of storylines, the Bengals and the LA Rams, and it should be a great matchup. Hopefully it will be just as exciting as this season has been for the NFL. But before any of us can cheer on either one of these teams, watch the commercials, see the halftime show, there's a lot that needs to go into it. Oftentimes the television trucks are going to be pulling in days and days and days in advance. This has been the last 2 weeks of the setup. This was the setup for last year in Miami, looking at the number of trucks, television trucks that need to go into the television compound. But all of this is down to two people. I always like to say that if you're going to yell at the TV about something, you should know who you're yelling at. So who is the producer? The producer is Fred Gadali, and the director is Drew Esikoff. Now, for those of you that are alums on our call tonight, many of you may have taken the directing, live sports directing class with Drew Esikoff. Those of you that are prospective students, Drew has taught a weekend workshop at Newhouse for the last few years, all centered around live sports directing. He's also come and to speak with the students about directing football and the Super Bowl several times in just the 5 years that I've been here. So he's definitely a close friend to Newhouse. When we start thinking about what cameras are taken when, that we can yell at Drew. When we want to talk about, when we go to commercial or what replays, we could yell at Fred. So at least we all know whose name we should be yelling at. So, what are they looking at the Super Bowl? Well, this year, like the last 2 years, they'll have over 120 cameras, over 120 cameras. It's 32 in the 8 end zone pylons. There'll be 2 wireless pylon cameras, 18 robotic cameras, which means they will be completely operated by people not on the field. You'll have 4 flying scaled cameras. You'll have 25 slow-mo cameras, 10 4K, 2 8K cameras, and then 1 movie bird crane. I will say that I did talk to both Fred and Drew during this week to get some information. I'll share a couple of secrets that they may have told me over the last couple of days. But one of those is they're actually moving that 8K camera, and they'll have 4 of those 8K cameras instead of just the 2 that had originally been planned on. So this is a little bit of an idea of what the truck looks like inside. You've got 3 full layers. This looks like a full building. It looks like a building, brick and mortar building that has been built for 20 years and would have indoor bathrooms. And yet it is not. It is a moving vehicle pulled by a truck with no indoor bathrooms. So when we say it's a glamorous life, please note that one. There will be more than 350 channels of replay and playback. What is the difference between replay and playback? Well, those of you that have taken my production class are probably raising your hand. I know the answer. At least I hope so. Replay is just that, replays of plays that just happened, and a playback is going to be the videos that you have, the interview segments, small features, anything that maybe was packaged together. If you have several great catches in a row, that would come from playback. So you have over 350 channels of just the replays and playbacks. If you're looking at that many cameras, obviously that should be no surprise of how many layers you have going through there. So I want to talk about 2 of their most exciting cameras. This Sony Venice camera was actually debuted last year. So I'm going to show you one that's last year that's been pretty still new for NFL, and one that will be new this year for the Super Bowl. So the Sony Venice camera, many of us have gotten pretty used to it. It's aimed to give you that 3D look. It's used to capture images following a scoring play, warm-ups, or on the sidelines. I will admit many of us producers and directors maybe have overused it a little bit because you want to definitely roll the dice and see if what this camera really can do, but it gives you that shallow depth of field, and it really feels like a 3D video game. We've all seen it when a player is warming up or walking onto the field. We see that very cool depth of field. It kind of looks like we're just watching Madden, right? Or NBA 2K. And that's really the feel of that. And this is always interesting because we talk about this in the industry, how video games and esports has affected traditional sports in lots of ways. And one of those reasons is many of us are so used to that fly cam. Many of us called it the Madden cam for a long time. It's that overhead flying camera that never existed until Madden came out. And then all of a sudden we got used to seeing football in this from this angle and thought this could be really cool for live games. And ta-da! And this is kind of a similar story with the Sony Venice camera. Some of us love it. Some of us think it's been used a bit too much. I tend to think both. So this camera here is the new camera that I would love to play around with, and I'm excited to see. And it's something that you should be looking out for during the Super Bowl. This is the first Super Bowl that this camera has been used at. It's a C630. I'm sorry, 360. It's an 8K camera. So what is this? It shoots in 8K, obviously, and it records 100-degree immersive field of view. And that's going to be really cool because it really enables that production team to go back and reframe a play to provide a more definitive angle. I'm excited to see how the production crew is going to use this, whether or not it will come into play with replays, especially scoring plays and things like that, or or if it'll just be something that they're able to play with. It'll fly attached to the bottom of that Skycam. So remember, I was just talking about what some of us called the Madden cam for a long time. It's known as a Skycam. It's actually going to be attached to the bottom of that Skycam to provide up close and intimate replays of the game. Excited to see it because the camera captures immersive field of view. And then that will allow the production team to play, reframe a play better and definitely get that 360 view. So when you see that on Sunday, everyone that has attended our session can tell whoever they're with at their party, this is the C360. We knew this was coming and where it's coming from. So what other little secrets can I get you into? I have a couple in the end. Well, before our students join us, I want to give you a little bit more. Yes, this is what it looks like. I've only started to tell you here, which is actually less than last year, because the mobile units that NBC is using are a little bit bigger than they have been in the past. So there's only 10 there. They have about 10,000 square foot office space, 15 temporary structures, for 34 miles of cable. 34 miles of cable. So it's been pretty crazy. You guys think about that's every bit of that cable. Somebody has to run that. 72 field mics and 2 sub mixes. So 2 things to be looking for other than that camera. We're going to bring the students on to answer some questions and give us some information. The 2 things I want to make sure that we're looking for that a lot of people will not necessarily know are coming. NBC Sports will debut a new graphics package during the Super Bowl. They've been playing with it a little bit, but they definitely we're going to be seeing it more and more. It's generated by 2 Chiron machines. That's what the graphics machine looks like in a truck. It'll be for the first time. It'll actually be used with the Steadicam rig to create the AR graphics on the field. So this is kind of a mock-up of what we've seen before. We'll be seeing more of these graphics during the Super Bowl. So that's to be expected. Have an eye out for that. I've also been told something that's pretty exciting, that they're going to have a new show open for the Super Bowl this year. So don't miss it. Tune in at 6 p.m. Supposedly there'll be a film style show open to lead into the game. They're really trying to merge the idea and the essence of Hollywood, the history of the Super Bowl. Because remember, I told you that Super Bowl I, which wasn't called Super Bowl I, was played at the LA Coliseum. So we really want to embrace the idea of the Hollywood history. And this is supposed to include Halle Berry as a host. For the Open, we've seen her a lot in those Caesar commercials lately. If you didn't know that was her, as Cleopatra, that's her. And it's supposed to be filled with movie clips from famous football movies, probably those famous lines that we're all used to hearing, as well as footage from past Super Bowls, some cameos from Hollywood actors, and obviously lots of images from the SoFi Stadium. So I'm excited to see that. Those of us that are maybe tuned in to some of the commercials and the halftime show, looks like the show open is supposed to be strong as well. But what are we really there for? We're there for the football, and we're excited to see these 2 gentlemen call out the winning Super Bowl touchdown. And of course, those of us that will be attending Super Bowl parties, if you don't bring this to your party, then I don't want to come. So I hope that I've given you guys some fun information about the Super Bowl and kind of what is happening behind the scenes along the way. So now that I have given you all of this information, I'd like to bring in some students that will be turning their cameras on shortly. I see them popping up slowly but surely. We have 5 students that are in LA, but 3 that are with us tonight. So I would love to bring them in. First of all, I'm going to start off with their producer, Will Shea. Will Shea is a senior this year, graduating. All of our students tonight are graduating this year. So be looking for their names and their faces on your TV set soon, except for Will. He'll be bossing everybody around and making this happen. So Will is involved in Citrus TV. He also is our executive producer for the ACC Network studio shows. He has been they're working tirelessly. I can't believe that the amount of stuff that you guys are doing. So, Will, if you could start us off and give us just kind of an overview of some of the stories that you guys have put together, the packages, and some of the cool stuff you've seen so far.
Yeah, sure. I'll start it off. So obviously we're out here in LA. We got in here on I believe it was Sunday night. We started on Monday, and basically since then we've been working tirelessly to produce content for each of the 4 other members who are on air for our group. Our goal is to produce at least one package or donut and some social content a day. And so far, I think we've definitely achieved that. We've done a bunch of tours. We've done a convention center tour, a SoFi Stadium tour, which is really fun. We've done a couple stories on coaching, on QB comparisons, on Radio Row, which is where we're set up for our radio show that we do every day for 3 hours. We've had a bunch of guests on there. And then something I'm really looking forward to is we're debuting essentially a mini documentary for the history of the Super Bowl in LA coming out tomorrow in the morning. So that's really exciting. But we produced an amazing amount of content so far, and I'm really happy with what we've been able to do.
And if you are not following the 3 along with Jaron May and Ben Schulman on Twitter, you are missing out. Definitely. Will, if you can put all 5 of your Twitter handles, that would be awesome in the chat. Make sure that everyone is doing that. So Jenna, I'm going to keep you from last because I got a couple questions for you. But so, Brad, I'm heading your way. This is your first time at a Super Bowl, and if you could talk to the prospective students as well as the current students on, is this something that you always wanted to do once you knew that the Newhouse sent students, and kind of how you felt when you knew that you were one of the 5 going, and what did you do then? How quickly were your wheels turning?
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity here for this and for the Super Bowl as a whole. When I found out that the Newhouse Sports Media Center was sending kids to the Super Bowl and it first happened, I didn't believe it. I didn't actually think that it was really happening. I didn't think that it was all happening to the degree and the way it was backed by the school. And that to me is what really sticks out. So of course I wanted to go, and of course I was doing everything I could to position myself to go. But really what it just came down to is me putting my head down and doing my best work each day, and eventually it all worked out, and that's what I'm doing right now here in LA.
So, Brad, I'm going to stick with you on another question. You've done some really fun packages so far. Can you tell the group what is one of your favorite?
It's a good question. I just sent out a sports betting package. You can go check it out on my Twitter at BradKlein15. So that was really exciting because for me, as someone who's trying to stay on the cutting edge of everything sports and technology, and you really can't talk about sports right now without gambling, especially the Super Bowl, right? It's the most gambled on event of the year in America. It's second in the world only to the World Cup. So to me, that's something that deserved airtime and attention. And that's something that as soon as I found out I was going to the Super Bowl, I knew, okay, we got to do something on betting. So I was very excited to do that. Fun stuff, and that was fun. Fun stuff, I'm assuming you're referring to the tourist story I did with someone calling me a janky car salesman. That was, that kind of hurt my feelings, but what are you going to do?
He also said he would not buy car insurance from you.
Yeah, which was pretty tough for me, right? Because my father made a career out of being a salesman, so it does not run in the family. But essentially what happened was I was just having a good time. I'm a tourist, right? Because for me, I can act like a professional, but in reality, in my head, I'm all pinch me, oh my God, that's Adrian Peterson, Pat McAfee, I'm really here. OMG, what's happening? So I figured, let's do a story about it. So I went on the street and people said, hey, you look like a tourist. You look like a janky car salesman. And, put it out there. Just go check it out on my Twitter, on the Newhouse Sports Media Twitter as well. And I think it came out really nicely. It was pretty funny.
It is pretty funny. There's a lot of really good ones that have been happening. So Jenna, this is actually your second Super Bowl, and to the prospective students out there, the idea of this is that students really look at their we look at their reels, we look at their resumes. We also pay attention to how much each of our students is invested in that student media. How can they help? We try to send 4 students completely funded by the Sports Media Center that will be doing on-air stuff. And then hopefully one super duper producer that can handle the entire crew, which we got lucky enough in Will this year to be able to do. Jenna, you did really both. You did a lot of production stuff last year as well as on air. And this is your second Super Bowl that you've been to. Can you talk about the difference in your role from last year to this year? And also it's obvious, I mean, it seems to me a lot different than last year, maybe because of the pandemic, maybe because of the site. How has it been different?
Yeah, first and foremost, shout out to Will Shea, like super producer. He's been helping us on all of our stand-ups. Everyone's story has a sprinkle, and that's probably like to minimize what he's doing, like a boatload of Will Shea, either, having ideas for how we should script things, or if we're stuck on our own individual stuff, like I'm like, hey, Will, I just need to know like what looks good in this situation. So he's been great. And I think it's different from my role a little bit from last year, because my goal was to do a little bit of both. I was there to help as a producer, but my goal is to be on air, and it's always been to be on air. So I took the opportunity to kind of switch my role, to call like an audible, switch my role from producer to producer/reporter, and tried to get some, it was tough out there in Tampa. It was, in the middle of a pandemic. So it was hard. Like this year, we're pumping out so much content. Like we're all working. Like we said, like we haven't enjoyed LA a whole lot, only because we've been in that convention center from sunrise to well beyond sunset, except for today. So it's been a lot of work. So I think we've been able to do more because there's more happening, and we can do a man on the street. I tried doing a man on the street last year, and it was freezing in Florida, which it probably wasn't that cold in retrospect, but it was cold and no one wanted to talk to me. So things have definitely changed, and I've had a lot of fun doing the radio show. I love talking about football, and I get to do it for 3 hours with some friends, and it's been a blast. It's something I wasn't able to do last year because that wasn't my official role. I hopped on a little bit at the end, but that was just a taste, and I was like, okay, now I got to make sure I'm fully in, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's, you can tell you guys are having a great time. I feel like I can't get open Twitter without seeing something else, which definitely concerns me that Will is going to need to hibernate when he gets back to Syracuse. How he's smiling and his eyes are open, I'm not really sure, as was it all of you. Now I'm going to kind of go back to Will here in that when the 5 students were chosen, we've had a lot of meetings. We've talked about expectations. We've talked about what gear you need, the training on that gear. One of the things that we did talk about as well was what was your wish list of people that you guys wanted to talk to. And you've really been the one to coordinate a lot of those really big names, especially with alums, and that's had to be fun. Who are some of the people that you guys have been talking to, you've kind of made connections with because of this?
Yeah, I guess I'll get started. We've talked to a lot of people on this trip, and we definitely had a bunch we coordinated beforehand. And we talked to people like Noah Eagle, and I'm blanking on them because we've had so many. But one of the best things we've had is we've just had people come up to our radio booth too and just say they want to talk to us. We had Darren Ravel today, which is really cool. We had Andrew Siciliano, really good interviews. We had Annie Agar the other day. Just some really interesting people. There's been so many girls. We have some more set up for tomorrow. It's hard to pick one that's been my favorite, but just getting the opportunity to see all these people that you have such a connection with through the TV come up to you and just talk to you like a normal person, one of the most fulfilling and great experiences that you could have and doing this job. And I'm not even the one talking to them on air. I'm just sitting there listening to them talk with them about the Super Bowl life, Syracuse University, their alumni, all those things. And I just get such a joy from seeing that happen.
It's funny because some of these I've set up for you guys. Some of them have just reached out organically. Some you guys had done the work to reach out to them. I received 4 text messages from Adam Shine about how great you guys were. I've never seen, I'm proud of you. I'm excited for what you're doing, but 4 text messages of how awesome it was to talk to you guys and spend some time with you. And it's really been, it's been wonderful to see the outpour of the alumni that has really been watching all of your content, been paying attention to what you're doing, and want to get invested in and be a part of this. Will, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about that too is being there, we've noticed this especially today, is every person we talk to, whether they're an alumni or not, has said there's an alumni they work with there. And it's amazing. We had 3 people come up to us and say, either I am a Syracuse alumni and I'd love to connect with you, network with you, talk with you on the show, or I work with someone who is at Newhouse and they said you guys are fantastic. It's unreal, the Newhouse connections, and I just have to mention that it's so cool.
Yeah. Brad, is there anyone that you have talked to, alumni or otherwise, that maybe surprised you? I know that you work real hard to keep your excitement like underneath the surface and not, but was there anyone that you got in bed that night and you thought to yourself, all right, that was a great day. That was pretty cool.
Man, that's a good question. We spoke with Trey Wingo today, which was really cool, and he was awesome. And that's the thing, is that you try to you go around, and Radio Row, it's kind of like a melting pot of people that you want to talk to, and we're all the social butterflies. We all go, hey, you want to hop on the show? Maybe later. Okay, we'll see you then. Trey Wingo, no problem, came over, and it was a great experience talking with him because, well, whether it was Golick and Wingo or with him on NFL Live, that's someone who I grew up with, right? So that's something that Will alluded to just a minute ago, and that we have seen these people on TV. We met them through TV, and now we understand, and now we're able to converse with them professionally, which was awesome. I shared an elevator with Warren Moon, which was just, I mean, professionally was cool, but personally was just awesome. Hall of Famer, just one of those players that you read about, not necessarily think of sharing an escalator with. So that was really cool. But overall, I would have to say all of the above with the experiences we've had, because they've all been great.
Awesome. So one of the things before we're going to be able to take some questions. Anyone that is watching, alumni, current students, if you have questions, please, you can put them in the chat. I'll try to get to them as quickly as possible. I don't necessarily, I'm assuming they probably won't be for me anyways, but that's okay. So you can definitely hit up the questions there if you have a chance. So I do want to go back to Jenna, and what I first of all, I want to mention, you all look great in your shirts. You guys can't necessarily tell, but they are wearing very cool Syracuse shirts. So I have to say Will's is my favorite, but it wouldn't look good on television because it's striped.
Will's is my favorite too. It's not even close. I mean, it's awesome. Mine's awesome. I love it. But I even told him today, I was like, your shirt is really nice, man.
Yeah, so. I know, but it wouldn't look good on television. You'll all learn that when you learn television, and Will knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to circle back to Jenna, and not just because you've been, this is your second year going to the Super Bowl, but obviously you know what it takes to be chosen for this. If you think about it, something you work hard for 4 years. I've known you since your freshman year. Obviously, I had you in your first freshman class, I think. So that's pretty exciting. But for those that are on this panel today, or the discussion, what are some things that you would suggest for current students or students in the future to do to make sure that they put themselves in a good position to be one of the ones that is headed to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I can't believe like my first freshman Newhouse class, I walk in, Professor Stomsky walks in. Well, the thing is, real quick story. Professor Stomsky is the person that you want to know. And I figured this out very quickly. Like, we had like some convocation or something, and they said, Professor Stomsky, Newhouse sports meeting, whatever it was. And I was like, I need to meet that lady. I don't know who she is, but I got to meet her. Next thing you know, like, she's like walking into my class. I remember texting my mom, and I was like, Mom, it's the lady. And now 4 years later, I don't know if I ever told you that, but there's that story. 4 years later, we're here. So I think one of the things I tell that story just because I've never told it before, but also because I think there's kind of a lesson there. You need to make yourself known to the people who are in charge of making this decision. So Professor Somsky is the person who's in charge of making this decision. So it's very simple. Like I've had this conversation with Professor Somsky also. Like you have to be on the radar. No one knows who you are. No one's going to give you an opportunity because it's not personal. They just have no experience to go to something like the Super Bowl. You have to be trusted to act like an adult by yourself in a a city that you don't know. And if she doesn't know us personally, I don't think this trip happens. So that would be, I think, step number one. And like with that, I would say this is always a lesson that Professor Somsky always says is, you have to be like a nice person. That also helps. If you're not a nice person, no one's going to want to work with you and no one's going to want to do anything for you. And it's, I think, an unsung part of this process, because if you're sending 4 college students all trying to get stuff for their reels, all trying to put stories together, and you're not a nice person and who can be like, okay, yeah, you can do, we're working together. I talked to an alumni today, Jonathan Hoppy, and he said one thing that he noticed about our group in particular was that we're all working together on stuff. Like it's very obvious that this has been, like, there's been conversations about what has been happening on our social medias, and no one's really stepped in on each other's toes. Everyone has their schedule. So that was my second thing. My third thing is, I think it's just the combination of it all. Just get involved on campus and have stuff ready to show Professor Somsky for the application process. Just show that you can handle doing something like this. It's a waste of everyone's time and money if you're gonna sit there and do nothing and show, or you don't know what you're doing. So I think that's definitely part of that. Would be my 3-prong answer.
Yeah, and I'm going to follow up, and I know that I'm going to hit Will and Brad on the same question. But one of the things that you said, all of that is very, very true. It's important, but don't think that you need to meet me your freshman year to make that decision to start making an impact and get some stuff done. That's your cue, Will.
Yeah, so I will say it's definitely an advantage to meet you freshman year. However, I didn't actually meet Professor Somsky until my second semester junior year when I took her her sports production class. And I introduced myself and I talked with her, and I came down to the AC Network studio shows where I spend a lot of my time now. It's really about taking advantage of what you're given at Syracuse. You have so many opportunities, not just within Newhouse, but with so many extracurriculars to make yourself talented and to show what you can do. And when you take advantage of those things, and then you meet people like Professor Somsky or people like Professor Park, who is essentially the head of the broadcast division for anyone who wants to do play-by-play. When you can show them that you're talented, you're hardworking, and you're a kind, generous, compassionate, caring person, then opportunities come. I honed a lot of my production skills and directing skills at Citrus TV. And then when I got to work with Professor Somsky on AC Network, she just made me so much better. But I needed that bedrock to be able to reach that level. And now I'm doing this because I had that training my first 3.5 years. So that's what I would say is take advantage of every opportunity you have. And even if you haven't met the right person yet to, launch you into an opportunity like this, be patient and keep talking and networking with people, and it will come at some point.
I completely agree. And I think more than anything, if you want opportunities, you have to ask for them. And you need to be willing to put the work in. Will's had a very busy couple weeks. He was in Lake Placid and then drove back for the Empire State Games, drove back to get on a plane to go to. So he's been very busy. Why is this? It's because he has put in the work, because he cares about not only the product, but he cares about the people he's working with. We see that with Jenna will produce a studio show one night and the next night she's hosting it, and 2 nights later she's this analyst on a game. And then and it's not a matter of it's not that you have to do everything, it's just that you have to care enough. Brad, it can call any game at any time, and 100% there's zero question on the quality of work and the attention to detail that he'll have. And not only is all that production great, but each one of the of them will be in my office the next morning, say, hey, let me know if you've got feedback. I'm always trying to get better as we start to get, move forward. So I'm gonna hit a couple of these questions as quickly as I can. The first one is, how many cameras are at a typical game? For an NFL game, your typical number of cameras, you're looking at closer to like 32 cameras, not over 120. If you're talking about a college football game, you're looking at anywhere between 8 and 16 cameras as you start going through. How have producers and directors changed the way they cover on-field injuries in the last couple of years? Whew. Take my class. We do a whole week and a half on that. It seems like it's changed, and I'm wondering what's happened. Well, what's happened is that we have figured out that athletes are humans. So that's my quick answer. How has it changed? We are starting to care more about athletes as humans and not just for our entertainment. So I hope that question came from a prospective student, and I hope that you take my class, because that would be a fun one to talk about. Other than the video cameras, could you explain if and how digital photography plays a role in the production? Photography in general, like still photography, doesn't play a role in television production. Now, it does play a role when you're talking about long form. So if you want to talk about NFL films or any pieces that are put together afterwards, that's really where that comes into play. But as far as the live, it doesn't come into play at all. What is a package? Brad, well, I'll ask Will, what is a package?
Brad probably wants to answer this, but it's essentially a story told using stand-ups, which are a talent in front of a camera, audio sound bites, video, B-roll, anything like that. You're telling a story through a visual medium. That's really all it is.
Perfect. That is exactly a great description. Brad, how do you get involved as a freshman?
Just get involved as a freshman is the answer to the question, honestly. So
show up.
Right. Yeah. Just go. The thing is, a lot of people are scared to walk into certain places, whether it be an ACC network studio or WAER, WJPZ, Citrus TV. Just get involved. Like, I really thought, I used to broadcast games in high school. I thought I was pretty good, not in a cocky way. I just thought that I was pretty good. I was awful. And I only found out by going to AER, going to WJPZ and Citrus, etc., and learning from other people. When I was a freshman, Noah Eagle and Drew Carter, who you likely know, they were seniors, and they were telling me what was good and what was bad, mostly what was bad, and that was me, right? So then I was able to carve out a role for myself, figure out what was good, and then I really got involved. But the scariest part, the hardest part, is just walking in the door. So just get involved.
And I'm going to ask Jenna the same thing, because Jenna, you got involved in lots of different ways as a freshman. You took a little bit different route. How would you say what would you say was the best way to get involved?
I think that you have to figure out what works for you. I think that was the main thing. I walked into some of these places and I didn't see myself continuing to work in those specific realms, and that's fine. You're not gonna, mesh with every single place or every single person that you work with, as long as it's not every single place, because then the problem might be you. But I just found other ways to get involved. Again, the miraculous freshman year, Professor Stompsy walking through the class, it helped. I will say that it helped, because we were able to talk a lot more, and it was just like, hey, come out to a studio show. And I was like, oh, okay. Came out a couple times. I didn't come out a whole lot my freshman year, but just enough to kind of like, okay, I know who's who, what everyone's doing. All right. And then my sophomore year was really the year I spoke to the former executive producer, Mackenzie Pierce, who's now producing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I remember I told her my sophomore year, I'm like, Mackenzie, like, I want to do this. Like, I'm all in. Like, show me how to produce, show me what to do. Remember, I said a few minutes ago, like, on air is what I've wanted to do and what I continue to want to do. But I saw that as my opportunity to do something. Like, I didn't even think at that time about how that would transfer to me being on air, to be honest. I was just like, I don't know. I like these people. They're nice. And it goes back to the like work, just having nice people around. It was enjoyable. I had fun. I was hanging out with some upperclassmen and we were having a great time. producing studio shows. And a lot of times in the beginning, it was just Jenna, go get this, Jenna, go get that. But it was like, okay, like, what is a shot sheet? Who do I need to talk to about that? Because when then I became a producer, it was like, okay, I need to send that stuff to Jake, or I need to send, as an example of our replay guy, or I need to send that stuff to whoever is in charge, who I've already spoken to, because I've had to give them this piece of paper, give them that piece of paper. So I think, like, for me, that was my route. I was a producer. And then because of that, the amount of opportunities, because Will mentioned Professor Park, he's like the on-air guy, but because I helped in the studio shows, he recognized me and was like, Jenna, you've helped us. We like to help. Like, there's been some opportunities, like I called play-by-play for a women's soccer game. I started calling play-by-play like less than a year ago. It's very new for me. So doing a full-scale ACC Network extra broadcast is a bit ambitious, but I remember Professor Park sat down with me and was like, because you've helped on the studio side, like I'm more than willing to work with you to get you to a place where I believe that you can do this at a high level. So that's been great. So like we mentioned, I do everything now just because of the route, not even trying to do it for any ulterior motive. It was just frankly because I was like, might as well learn something. It turned in, so yeah, I get to do studio shows, which had been a goal of mine for a while. Once I had produced enough of them, I'm like, all right, I like this, I can do this. I like to be on the other side, but this is cool too. So yeah, there's a ton of ways to get involved. I would just say don't get discouraged if you just really don't like something. If you really don't like something, then don't do it. Like if it's gonna like if you're not gonna get enough out of it and you're gonna be not feeling great about it, then don't do it. And again, every opportunity is great at Syracuse, but again, some things work for you and some things don't work for you. And so be willing to pivot, even though you might feel like you're getting set back, but you might be just taking a shortcut instead.
Yeah, and I want to touch on two things here. So those of you that are prospective students, we've brought up Professor Park a couple of times, of course, as we should. He was actually trying to get into this, and he just got off the air with Coach Boeheim. So Professor Park is Matt Park, voice of the Orange, play-by-play for our Syracuse football and men's basketball team. He oversees the on-air students for ACC Network. He teaches radio sports broadcasting. I would say he is my in front of the camera counterpart to everything I run behind the camera. And a lot of those things happen hand in hand with who is working together and how that works. So that's one of the people that we keep bringing up, and we're very thankful for everything that he's done. Brad.
Well, it goes for Professor Park and for Professor Stomsky. Is that something for me
Brad.
Hello? You got me? All right, great. Sorry. Yeah, something for me is that with Professor Park and with Professor Stomsky, for me, it's all been about surrounding yourself with people who know better than you, right? So, and that's something that I've been very fortunate with at Syracuse. So, and Professor Park was, he was great in helping me to groom me to become a better broadcaster, and eventually helping me and holding my hand in the job market. And Professor Stomsky the same way. So I've been very fortunate. And anytime I hear Matt Park, I kind of perk up because he's helped me a lot.
Yeah, one of the things that is different with Newhouse from many other schools is that all of the professors that teach in the sports media center still work in the industry. And so, as I mentioned, obviously I'm in Louisville about to produce an event here. And I think that that's important. And obviously with Professor Park, he is calling games. He just got, like I said, he's off the air with Coach Boeheim a few minutes ago. All right, so we have time for a couple more questions. And one of them I want to make sure that we get in for each of you is, what has been the most challenging part of your week for anyone? Will, let's start with you since you're in charge of everyone.
Yeah, I got a great answer. It's sleep. 100% it's sleep. Just to give you an idea of our schedule. So we have a radio show that goes from 10 to 1 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 10 to 1. Sorry. 10 to 1 Pacific time every day. But that means we get to the LA Convention Center, which is probably about half an hour, 40 minutes away, at about 9:15, just to be safe and set everything up. So we're waking up at the latest, like 8 a.m. Today we woke up at 6 a.m. to go shoot at SoFi Stadium down the street from our hotel very early in the morning. We do our radio show. we shoot a bunch of packages, and we usually are there at the convention center till somewhere between 6 and 9 o'clock, somewhere in that range. Then we come back, we eat dinner, and then we edit packages essentially all night long, usually till very early in the morning to post the next day. So that has been our schedule. It's been crazy. We haven't gotten enough sleep at all, but I wouldn't change it for the world. The experience has been so worth it. The content we're producing is so fantastic that being the only thing that's not been great, well worth it. I can sleep the next week whenever I get back.
Yeah, and Will is the first person in the broadcast industry to ever say that they're not getting enough sleep too.
Brad thinks he's funny. Well, Brad thinks he's
Ouch.
funny. I know. Jenna, what's been your biggest challenge?
I think for me, it's kind of at times, because I am newer at this side of it, it's kind of keeping up with my classmates. They're going all the time. And I think for me, it's sometimes hard not to look the other way and and just be like, oh wow, they're doing a lot. Like they're doing stuff all the time. Like I have 3 packages that are going to go out later in the week. So I'm like working on them. I texted Professor Somsky. I was like, I'm doing stuff. I promise it's coming. Like this, it's sometimes hard to like keep up with everybody else when it's so fast paced. But I think like for me, it's been like all right, Jenna, like it's okay. Focus on, I have 3. I'm doing a sport analytics story, which I'm getting some friends to help me do like run some models. Because I am a sport analytics minor, but my sport analytics is not fantastic. It's mediocre at best. So I'm like making visualizations for that so we can have some cool, graphics showing up on the screen. I met today on Radio Row, NFL Network analyst who runs all her same models, Cynthia Freeland, and she was like, yeah, I'll talk to you, like no problem. We're still waiting on the email, but we connected and she said that she'd be willing to do it, which, adds on light. So sometimes I think like for me, like the patience of just like waiting and just like, methodically planning out what you need to do really cool stuff could be great. I think that's been the hardest part of just trying to like stay focused, keep up, stick with what you're doing. Because I'm excited. Yeah, I have 3 packages, another one on the Grammys, because that was the press conference today, the coolest thing I've ever been to. It was so cool. I was not hyped for this Super Bowl. It's not for our generation, but let me tell you, they played this like hype video and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And it was like being in the room with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Mary J. Blige was so cool. It was insane. So I'm excited, the longer form stuff. So just making sure like that I'm not stressing myself out has been probably the hardest part.
Well, in situations like this, you always are like, I can't miss anything. It's like the first time any kid goes to Disneyland or getting to a candy store and it's like, I have to get everything done. You sent me that video and it made me so jealous. Like I'm just enough old, like I'm just older than you enough that this halftime show is my jam. Like it will change. Usually me, halftime is like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go get more food. I don't really care about halftime. Is happening. This is happening. All right. Well, we have 3 minutes. I want to go through a couple quick ones. Isabel is asking, what is the most difficult challenges of a producer faces during a game? I'll answer that one pretty quickly. It could be anything. Cameras go down, the truck goes down. Most importantly, I would say the most important and hardest part of producing a game that becomes a challenge is simply managing personalities in the truck. Will, what's a producer's number one goal while producing anything?
To protect the talent.
To protect the talent. And so what we're doing is we want to make sure that the talent, the play-by-play, the analyst, the silent reporter, the host, whoever it is, that they're protected and that they look good, they look, those are good responsibilities in TV. Well, everything, something goes wrong, it's the producer's fault. Something goes right, it's everybody else's, kudos. But number one thing is to protect the talent. What are some of the best clubs and organizations to get involved with? That's a great question. It's really up to you. That's the thing. These 3 students all took very different routes on being involved, whether that be Citrus TV or not, WAER or not, JPZ or not. But the one thing that all of them are involved in is the ACC network and the studio shows. I know that both Brad and Jenna have been involved. She was on both sides of that camera, so she's got that. I love Olivia's question. Olivia Jackson wants to know, Super Bowl is a huge bucket list. I wouldn't say obviously. Career goal. What are some of the bucket list career goals that have for yourself in the future? Well, I'm going to assume that the 3 students, their bucket list is to get paid and get a job and keep talking and working in sports for right now. That's number 1. And that will be definitely happening. What is mine? Honestly, the Super Bowl is not mine. I am really interested in doing kind of some of the silly stuff. We're talking cornhole and the hot dog eating contest. Like those would be really fun to produce. I'm going to be honest, right? Those are the things that like nobody does. So that's just some of the stuff. What are the best steps to take now? Someone who wants to be on air, hopefully at Newhouse, consume. Watch television, listen to the radio, pay attention to what you like, what you don't like, what you think you can get better, and most importantly, talk. Even as producers, I'm surprised Will even has a voice because he probably has been constantly talking, even though none of us at home are hearing him. He's the one that's orchestrating everything. Jenna, Brad have been on the radio for hours and hours on top of doing their own packages and their stand-ups and convincing people. So talk as much as you possibly can. Wes, thank you so much for having not only me tonight, but Will Shea, Brad Klein, and our wonderful Jenna Alike for our seniors, 3 of the 5. The other 2 were more than welcome, but they were doing something else for the Newhouse School. So we spread the love just a little bit. I'm so proud of the 3 of you, the work that you're doing. And this is a wonderful representation of the opportunities and the skills that our students have.
Yeah, we are so excited to have the students and also Professor Stomsky. That it definitely shows the work that you've been putting in for the students and the things that you've been showing them and the people you've been seeing on TV. So all the big names that you've been seeing is becoming a product of Newhouse and the Newhouse School, and want to continue to do that as well. So we want to thank Professor Stomsky, thank Will, thank Brad, thank Jenna for being there. Also, we want to thank Patty for doing the caption for us. We want to thank Brian Tibbins for doing the Zoom for us. My assistant, my colleague, Julie, director for recruitment, thank you for being here. And for all of you, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you all being here this evening, whether you're an alum, whether you're a prospective student, whether you're a current student or your family. Thank you all for being here. So with that, I would like to say good night. Enjoy the game this weekend. Enjoy everything that comes with it that you've learned this week. Also, we'll be putting these things online shortly, that we have videos here. And then lastly, Professor Jordan Klingerman did some interviews with some folks from NFL Films. Those videos will be coming out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before the game. So they'll be doing some interview with some people who are actually working at the Super Bowl. So see, those will be up pretty soon, and you can catch those on our website and social media. So with that being said, I'd like to say to you all, please be safe, stay healthy with you and your family. And like we like to end with all of our programs in Syracuse University, students, you all know this too, go Orange.
Go Orange.